Hi YouTubers, this is Nahu. Tonight I want to talk to you about a very peculiar phenomena that took place, a rather spectacular, unique, and what I would call a synchronistic event along a Miami highway in which thousands of shoes suddenly appeared, apparently, who knows, out of nowhere, since there doesn't seem to be any explanation as to the source of the shoes that suddenly appeared or were strewn across the highway. Thousands of shoes, brand new shoes by the way, totally crowding the whole highway and blocking traffic. Suddenly they showed up. Where did they come from? You know, if you stop for a moment and think about it, it's not too surprising when just very recently a correlative event took place around December 17th when the president was addressing the Iraqi journalist, and suddenly an irate Iraqi journalist stood up and began to throwing his shoes at the president. Surprisingly, the president was able to nimbly jump away, which was lucky for him because it looked like that Iraqi journalist had every intent of hitting him. And the reason why, he said, is basically because he resented the president's invasion of Iraq and what took place in Iraq. You know, what he was demonstrating was the anger and resentment that not only the Iraqis, but a lot of people throughout the world, and including millions of U.S. citizens. You know, if you correlate the two bits of information, you see that the two are very synonymous. Thousands of shoes suddenly show up, apparently from nowhere, strewn across the Miami Freeway, and following in the wake of a few brief weeks ago, the apparent attempt to assault the president in Iraq. As I said, these two incidences are not by chance. They are tied intrinsically together by the nature of the energy that made them manifest. I feel that it's a psychic manifestation in part, because what is repressed or held back, that energy within the psyche, especially by a group, it has to find release in some way. And if it doesn't find release, it comes out in other ways. The poltergeist is a similar phenomenon, because if you recall, at or around the age of 13, there's a lot of psychic, sexual type energy, repressed energy. That means this is a bio-energy field. It has to find release, and it'll find release through some kind of symbolic portrayal or exteriorization into the physical plane. The shoe itself that was thrown at the president is very symbolic. It represents the feelings of anger and resentment of people who are very downtrodden, very beat down, whose very soul, you see, and I'm not using this as a pun, but their very soul is in that shoe. They desire to retrieve and express their inner soul, their needs to be heard. They do not feel that they're being heard by the world. And there's a lot of anger there and frustration. And as I said, it's like a volcano. Eventually it's going to explode, and that's what's happening. It's exploding, and symbolically these shoes represent some of the fallout from that explosion. Let me give you another example of this. There was a gentleman by the name of Charles Fort who wrote about anomalous or psychic phenomena of this sort, and he oftentimes talked about how suddenly we have these explosions of energy into the physical plane from alternate, let's call them universes or alternate dimensions, other dimensions outside this physical plane. These are internal planes that run parallel to ours. we exist on a multi-dimensional level, and so there are many different levels to the energy that we are expressing or releasing, and a lot of it finds its way into the physical plane, a lot of it doesn't. Some of it's repressed, some of it needs to be released, and when it does, especially when it's symbolically portrayed, it needs to come out in some kind of extrapolation of some sort, some explosion. And right then I heard a correlative kind of synchronistic cracking in the ceilings over my house as I said that. And I'm talking about, again, about Charles Fort. Charles Fort wrote a lot about this. He wrote about sudden fish falls out of the skies, all kinds of weird, strange phenomena. He even wrote about UFOs as manifestations of this psychic energy, almost in a similar way as I did with my UFO book. You know, another interesting aspect I just want to mention too before we close this session down is I want to talk about one of the originators of the idea of synchronicity and what that energy means, Carl Jung. Carl Jung was a very famous researcher of mythology and all the energies associated with that. One time he was trying to explain to his colleague, Sigmund Freud, about how psychic energy can be exteriorized. In fact, as he called synchronicity, psychic exteriorizations, in other words, releases of energy that's being repressed. And Freud rejected his interpretation and said that he didn't believe it. Just about that time, a loud report came from behind his desk somewhere in the vicinity of his bookcase. And both he and Carl Jung jumped suddenly when the noise was released. It seemed to be almost as though it was exploding. And he said, "You see what I'm talking about? That's what I'm talking about," Carl Jung said. And he said just before that he felt an enormous pressure in his chest. And his throat got real red. He felt almost as if there was some weight on his chest. You know, I had a similar kind of experience myself many years ago when I felt a weight on my chest when I woke up. And suddenly I felt something like hands moving up to my throat. I had some kind of psychic energy released. And just after that there was a strange fluttering of wings when finally I was able to throw off my sheet and jump to my feet. And around me I actually was able to capture visually the impression of wings flying off, and I heard their fluttering as they moved off in the distance. This is representing the release of psychic energy, the repression of psychic energy, and it needs to get out. And it got out of me at that time just as that energy was exteriorized by Carl Jung. This energy that we have here in our society today that follows in the wake of this shoe throwing incident represents a vast undercurrent of negative energy that we're going to have to throw off if we're going to get beyond this point that we're at as a collective nation today. We want to think about that and try to visualize ways of releasing all this negative energy as a whole. I'm going to come up with another video to talk about that later on. Thank you for stopping by, and namaste.